Hey folks, it's Lindsay Ellis with SPS back in the building over at Old Redford Academy. You see the Raven behind me, one of the biggest symbols around. I'm sitting here with the Executive Director of Climate and Culture, Mr. Lavar Drummond. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Man, you sharp on it, man.
I try to do it, man. Try to keep it clean all the way up top.
That's a good thing. Talk about what that role is. I'm sure when you share your title with people, they show a level of inquisitiveness to say, well, what's that about? Talk about it.
Right. So Executive Director of Climate and Culture, this is making sure that all students have a safe learning environment.
Sure.
Right? That they're engaged, that they're having an excellent student experience. This could be clubs and organizations, engagement in the classroom, field trips, community, collaboration, all of those things, as well as staff, making sure that this is a great place for staff to work, that they're engaged, that they love being here, and that's what climate and culture is all about.
That's important. Proud Detroit, I went to Henry Ford High School. Talk about the urban education experience right now in 2024 and what's that like, and how does that play into the role you have as Executive Director of Climate and Culture? Absolutely.
The urban experience is really evolving, right? We are finding and gaining more resources. Student voice is it's been an increase in student voice.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we do here, right? We lead by student voice, meaning like we will survey our students and ask them, what kind of programs do you want to see here?
Sure.
Right? What does engagement for you look like?
Wow.
And we gather that information, we take it back to our team, and then we develop and bring those things that we would love to see in the schoolhouse.
So how much does that help from a buy-in standpoint? That hey, you asked, we give this. So
100%. The recent survey that we did, it showed that students were interested in having a podcast at the school.
Really?
Exactly. And students were interested in learning how to braid hair. So now we have Braid Camp by Passion Braid Camp, and we have a podcast that will be starting very soon, and students will be able to run their own podcast and have a YouTube station here.
Hey, they trying to give me some run for my money, man.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. So watch your back. They're coming after you.
I love that, but it's so interesting because talk about braiding, the popularity and the skill set, and the career plan it can lay, and podcasts and being just a very current way of communicating. These are important things, but when you hear from the student standpoint, all the more reason for you to jump in and be on.
And I would say this. One of the things we do here is project-based learning. So we make sure to connect these activities.
Define project-based learning for our viewers.
So project-based, for instance, right? You're talking about media, what you do now,
correct?
Right? Learning how to really do the background information. I mean, know how to do a back office of running the podcast.
It's not just being in front of the camera.
Exactly. The business side of it, right? And then it's hands-on experience, and then these students actually have their own podcast. So you're learning the education, academic aspects of having a podcast, not just having a podcast show.
To be devil's advocate, and I love that. How do you respond to those who say, well, traditional education doesn't have them doing podcasts or braiding hair? Why would you be doing something? How do you respond to that kind of?
Right. But when you're getting educated, you're doing it so you can go out into the real world and do these things, right? When you major in communications and media, to go ahead and start your own podcast or be in broadcasting, we're just preparing you and getting you that hands-on experience early, right here in the schoolhouse, such as with the braid camp.
Sure.
They also learn the traditional aspect. Where does braiding come from? What's the cultural and historical side of braiding?
Right.
So they're getting that academic and history aspect of braiding, not just learning how to braid. So that's an idea of project-based learning.
Well, you said so many things in a short amount of time that talk about why Old Redford is a great landing place for these young people. But if you had a few moments just to give us a commercial of why someone says, hey, you need to take a look at what we have over here, tell us what that would be like.
For students, just like I mentioned, students have a voice, right? They get to have input on what their learning experience will look like, what their learning environment looks like, and we take that in full consideration, and we make sure that we actually come to the table and their voice matters, and we bring them the things that we can, right? We help cultivate that environment for them.
And it don't help when they show up, you're looking clean on them like that, huh?
Right, and you got to be an example, right? One of the things our staff do here is be an example of the students that we want to see in the future. So I got to look my best, right, to make sure that they know that, hey, you can look your best as well.
You're doing it, man. You represent so well, man.
Absolutely.
It's such a pleasure, man. Hey, another great opportunity here. What's happening over at Old Redford Academy. This is Lindsay Ellis with SPS. We'll keep you in the know, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Getting ready to take flight. It's gotta go up.